Thank you all for being here, and thank you for joining us for the second day of the second ever Learning Bitcoin conference. Yesterday, my co-host Pablo dove into the practical use cases of using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange to save and to transact with it, offering a glimpse into what it means to use Bitcoin for financial freedom and what it means to use Bitcoin as day-to-day money. Today, we're going to be introducing a new variable into the equation, and that is the future. We're going to have various keynotes, speakers, and panels that are going to explore not only the impact Bitcoin is having today on our social, economic, political, and environmental systems, but also the impact Bitcoin is going to have on these systems and how it will shape and transform these systems in the future. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to share a few housekeeping items with you all. For starters, lunch is, again, going to be just like yesterday. It's going to start at 12:30. It's going to be 30 minutes until 1 o'clock. Lunch will be available for purchase at the bistro in the exhibitor hall. There's also plenty of locations to get food around the conference. Green Room Plus ticket holders will have their own lounge in room 201, which is just up the escalators to the left of the ballroom over here. Though lunch will be getting served there at 12:30 for Green Room Plus ticket holders. I also want to give a really big shout out to our workshop sponsors, starting with Damas, which is a client for the decentralized Nostr protocol. A big shout out to Coinos, one of the easiest ways to onboard merchants into accepting Bitcoin. I want to shout out to Bull Bitcoin, one of the easiest ways to buy and sell Bitcoin in Canada. And then, of course, Blockstream, who create one of the best Bitcoin hardware wallets. I also want to extend a huge thank you to CoinCards, our stage sponsor this year, and the easiest way to live your life on a Bitcoin standard. They allow you to buy gift cards using your Bitcoin across hundreds of merchants and retailers. So really powerful use case as Bitcoin as money right there. I also want to give a very heartfelt thank you to Kristen and Tristan Swift, the organizers of this conference. Let's give them a really big round of applause. Without their dedication and their vision, this event truly would not be possible. So I'm very, very grateful for them. To share a little bit about myself, my name is Zach Guignard. I'm going to be your host and MC throughout the day today. I'm an economics graduate from the University of Victoria and now a writer on the financial freedom team at the Human Rights Foundation, where we help activists, nonprofits, dissidents, and individuals like yourselves use Bitcoin to push back against authoritarian regimes and dictators that are stripping people of their financial rights at a very alarming rate. I look across the room right now, and even though the seats are not full, I see family, I see friends, I see businesses, artists, activists, nonprofit leaders, skeptics, first-time learners, all gathered in one place to ask a simple but very important question, which is, what is Bitcoin? And perhaps even more importantly, why does it matter? Because despite what you may have seen online or read in the news, Bitcoin is not some fantasy of the future, and it is certainly not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm not here to proselytize. I'm here because Bitcoin offers the best chance we have at achieving financial freedom on an individual level, and the best chance we have at building the foundations for an economy that can actually meet the needs of everyone on this planet. The reality right now, unfortunately, is that we instead live in a world where 72% of the global population lives under some form of authoritarian regime, where billions of people face financial repression every single day, where dictators can freeze a bank account with the click of a button, where central banks can debase national currencies overnight and wipe out a population's savings, where governments can monitor donations, censor transactions, and restrict who gets to participate in the economy in the first place. In Canada, we saw this firsthand in 2022 when protesters and donors had their financial accounts frozen without due process. In China, Nigeria, the Bahamas, and beyond, central bank digital currencies are being used to track, restrict, and monitor how people spend the money that they have earned. In Lebanon and Palestine, the financial systems have entirely collapsed. In Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and Cuba, people's wages and savings are evaporating by the week. In these places, time and time again, I've witnessed a familiar pattern emerge. And that is people turning to Bitcoin out of necessity. Because when the systems around them fail, they reach for something that still works. And Bitcoin doesn't just work, it offers something that most financial systems cannot: open, permissionless access. Bitcoin offers 8 billion people a bank account free from inflation and a means to transact free from censorship. It doesn't care who you are, where you're from, what you believe in, or why you're using it. If you have an internet-connected device, you can use Bitcoin. No approval needed. So here's the big question. If Bitcoin is so important, so revolutionary, so accessible, then why isn't everyone already using it? And it's here that we reach the crux of the issue. And it also happens to be one of the very reasons we started this conference. And that is that the lack of Bitcoin education remains one of its biggest barriers to global adoption. People don't reject Bitcoin because they've studied it and found it lacking. They reject Bitcoin because they've never had the chance to understand it in the first place. They've heard that it's bad for the environment, or only used by criminals, or too volatile to be money, or that governments will simply ban it. They've been bombarded with scams, collapses, influencers, and jargon. And if you've ever tried explaining Bitcoin to someone new, you know it's not always easy. The learning curve is real. The questions are real. There is no elevator pitch to this. It's a topic that merits hundreds of hours of study. But I digress. This education isn't just nice to have, it forms the necessary foundation. Because people cannot use what they don't understand, they cannot fight for their rights if they don't know they're being taken away, and they cannot opt out of a broken system until they know that there is another alternative out there. And that is why learning Bitcoin matters. And the more you learn, the more you realize. Bitcoin isn't just a new form of money, it's a new way of seeing the world. It's a teacher. It teaches you to ask questions. It teaches you to think in decades. And it forces you to zoom out and observe the long arc of human history. And that's when you realize the money we use has never been fixed. From barter to stones, to beads, to seashells, to gold, to government-issued paper, the money we use as a civilization through both time and space has remained in a constant state of evolution. And yet, for the past century, we've stalled. Stuck in a debt-based fiat currency system that has fueled hyperinflation, wealth inequality, burgeoning debt on both a federal and individual level, and some of history's most devastating financial collapses. To give up and accept that this, what we have right now, is the final stage of monetary evolution would be to deny the very human spirit that has driven forward countless creative breakthroughs, from the wheel to the printing press to electricity and the internet. Bitcoin is no different. Our history is marked by these innovations, so why should money be the one thing we stop questioning? We owe it to ourselves, but more importantly, we owe it to future generations to keep pushing forward, to challenge the status quo, and to embrace the innovations that can actually help us build the future that we want to see. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our sponsors, our volunteers, our exhibitors, and our speakers. This event would not be possible without you. This is not meant to be just some weekend in Vancouver or another tech conference. It's a part of something bigger, a peaceful revolution into how we think about money, power, and freedom. And it starts simply with learning. With that, I'd like to welcome Bitcoin educator and author of the Bitcoin Handbook, Anil Patel, to the stage to kick us off this morning. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for Anil.